Hey guys, welcome back to day number 2 of this battery install on our 2014 Airstream Interstate. And if you saw the first half, you'll be looking at taking this battery box out. Okay, once the back of the sofa is removed and the sofa is moved in the forward position, all the bolts are a lot easier to get to. So please make sure you do this in your first step. It'll save you a lot of time. Although with it up, I could still get all the bolts out in about a half an hour. This would probably cut that time in half. And then we'll try to pull this out right now, and hopefully it pulls right out. And that was the big problem because it took me about 2 hours to finally just cave and put that back in. Put the battery back in. You can still see how tight this is. The generator power cord out of there. There's that. And this is where this is going to come in really handy, because it's got to come up and out because it's too wide to fit through here. There's a bracket on this side. These bolts start to hit, and then there's that pipe underneath. Whoa. My hook. And that's the battery box. So you can see that pipe on the bottom. That's what caused that issue there with it coming up. And that's it. So if you remove the back of the sofa first, it'll probably take you about a half hour to get this battery box out, maybe a little bit longer. It is a bit of a pain, but now we get into the real work and try to figure out how our new electrical system is going to fit into that. So let's take a look at that, and we'll see what we can figure out. And what we're trying to do is fit these batteries back in there to have a little bit more space. And one thing that I realized is the battery tray from the battery box, these 6 volts actually fit in there side by side. So kind of a bummer that, like I said, Airstream didn't design this box maybe with a removable top or something so that bigger batteries can be put in there, because when you have that in there, all you can do is pretty much fit group 24s, and that's about it. And that's just not enough power nowadays. So I think what we're gonna try to do is take this battery tray and use this as our floor in the back, because on the bottom of the battery tray, there's no flooring back there, so it goes down to the metal part of the van chassis. So I have some sealable spray foam kind of gap filler. So we're going to fill the hole in the bottom that battery box went into. And I'm going to try to reuse as much of this stuff as possible. I don't really want to get too complicated into this. And we're going to try to reuse parts from the box, including this tray, and also the power and the ground mounts. I'm just going to try to remount those back there. Initially, all the power cables that went in were pretty low on this box, so there's not a whole lot of slack to get those back up to the top of these, so I almost have to mount the power cable and maybe the battery ground down low somewhere. So I'm going to take these back out, and we'll get started on day number 2 here. And remember, before we do the power, we're going to take off the back of this sofa. So I'm going to show you that real quick right now, just because I didn't film that in the beginning, and remember, that will save you many, many hours of hassle. So let's get to it. to remove the back of the sofa on this Airstream Interstate, which is probably the same as Road Trek and maybe Heimer and some of the other manufacturers out there. This is just an Atwood electronic sofa, and Atwood makes furnaces and a whole bunch of RV products, so I'm sure they're all pretty much the same. But 1/2-inch socket on 4 bolts here. I'm just gonna take these out. All right, so there's the 4 bolts on the back of the sofa. And pretty much will slide forward. Make sure there's nothing up front. I got 2 sofa cushions up here. Remove your armrests if you have them. I just kind of plop it forward, and then we'll use the power button while we still have the power hooked up to move this sofa forward. So let me hit that real quick. You can see how much room that opens up down there. Okay. Now we're ready to unhook all the power and get rocking. So let's do this. Okay, so here's the batteries removed, and this is the space we're dealing with. It's actually a really nice, big, open space. There's a ton of room in there. But here's my initial thoughts. I'm gonna reuse that battery tray like I said, and I think for me the easiest way is to mount it something like that and have the 2 batteries sitting up top, and that will leave up all of this space here, and then a bunch of space on the right side we'll be able to use. And the only problem, I moved everything else out of the way except for this large wrap of power cords, and the only thing I could see possible is to remove this chunk of the floor so that that can sit down flush like it is here. Otherwise, that's the only piece that's in the way. The tray could also go sideways. I kind of thought about that. I like that option. There's the hole in the floor back there that needs to get filled with sealant. That's what the spray foam is for. I'll have to fill that hole up there for the vent that used to be there. I'll just throw in some more of that insulation. And the 2 screws that were holding down the battery box in the floor there, I'll silicone the screws and re-put them in. So those are our options so far. So the combined weight of these 2 batteries is pretty heavy. It's 180 pounds, so I did end up finding some scrap wood just to kind of help support that down there, that I'll mount and secure in a little bit better. But just a couple pieces of scrap wood will help put a little bit of floor underneath there. Okay, so we got things cleaned up here a little bit. We got the screws siliconed and put back in place down into the van body itself. That will seal those holes, and we used that spray fill crack to kind of fill that up a little bit. The biggest problem was this power cable wire here. It needs to kind of tuck down underneath the floor a little bit, and I just could not get at it. Tried a Sawzall, and it's just too tight of a space, so I chipped a little bit away so it does go down a little bit more, but otherwise it's just a very, very tight fit. But what I'm thinking is we're gonna put the battery tray like this. It just sits the flattest. I'll probably put some L brackets up here to hold it in. Just screw it into the floor, so this can still slide out if the batteries need to be changed. And I'd like to actually place this sideways, but once again, that floor's got to kind of get built up a little bit. So let me know in the comments down below what you think the best way to turn this thing and the best way to mount this thing. It's not going to be permanent, but this is just what I'm going to do to get going today. I'm going to do it this orientation. So the power cables, that's the other tricky part. They only reach so far, along with this guy here too. So I'm going to reuse that junction block, and eventually I'll have to get some type of wall mounted junction block to put on the back there, but there's just not, you can see this one barely reaches, so it's not the ideal setup right there, but that's what we're going to do to get it going today, and maybe we'll have a more permanent solution down the road. But I'm going to get this tray put in and put the batteries in and kind of get this buttoned and cleaned back up. So here we can kind of see the final outcome. I got the brackets down below kind of holding it in a little bit. It did tuck back pretty nicely. I think it turned out okay. It definitely opens up the space a lot more, and the extra power is for sure a good thing. The connections up top here, you know, everything's connected. That ground bracket's still up there. You know, it's not super messy, but it's not the cleanest it could be. I'm going to have to find some type of cap or cover for this because it's so close to the sofa. You can see how tall these batteries are right underneath the sofa. So that does have to get covered. But the space to the right works out great for a little bit longer storage. We have a couple camp chairs that are about 24 inches long that tuck in back there really nicely. And here's the power connection, which I just reused from what I had from the Airstream box. And it fits pretty nicely, but once again, it's got to get covered, and I do need to find a better solution for it moving forward. But that is it for now. I hope you guys liked the video. I do plan on doing some more videos on the solar that we have installed, and also some of the reasons why we chose the Airstream model. And I am still looking forward to getting a lithium setup in here, just not quite sure what we're going to do yet. So thanks again for watching. Click the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up, and we'll check you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.